And that's where we're going to go about next. Last week, we had Chris DeMuth Jr. talk about SPACs. Well, this week, we're going to add an E on that and talk about space. Today, we have joining us Cody Willard from Seeking Alpha Marketplace Service, Trading with Cody. Go ahead and bring him on into the conversation. Cody, how are you doing? You there with us? Let's make sure we got your mic.
I muted it. Yes, I'm here. Thanks for having me. That was a great segue over from SPAC to space. And frankly, there's been a lot of space SPACs, so it's blended anyway.
Exactly. I wanted to bring you in because we had, of course, everybody saw that William Shatner went to space. And a lot of people don't know maybe that Tom Hanks was first offered the seat on Blue Origin's space shuttle ride up to space for $28 million, first off, which, I guess Bezos, when it comes to that, at the end of the day, there's no free rides. But Blue Origin also announced that they're going to be working on a commercial space station. Wanted to see if you could just give our viewers some information and some expertise and maybe even some companies or stocks that they should be looking out for in that sector as this goes forward.
So yeah, let me even just back up a little bit and explain why I'm so excited about space itself. What I'm always trying to do is find the next multi-trillion-dollar economy that's going to be created. And I've done it in apps with smartphones. I've done it with cryptos and Bitcoin. And we did it with electric vehicles on Seeking Alpha, on Trading with Cody's service that we wrote all about at the time. And I think at this moment, the clearest, most obvious next multi-trillion-dollar platform that is going to be built upon is space itself. People are talking, and you're asking about like space tourism, and that is certainly a big element in it. But the costs of getting people and satellites and computers and factories and hotels up into space are basically approaching zero. The cost is going to zero. It's getting basically free incrementally compared to what you're spending to do in space. So what I like to tell people is like maybe in 10 years, going to that space hotel in orbit around Earth will be comparable in cost to going to Disney World. It's probably going to be 3 or 4 times as much, but it's going to be at least in the same universe, so to speak. Boy, there's so many puns you can use with space. And so look, I'm all over the space revolution itself. And the fact of the matter is that most good space companies are still private. SpaceX is by far the best space company out there. Blue Origin is a great space company. It's Elon would tell Jeff Bezos it's number 2 though. And my favorite publicly traded company by far is Rocket Lab, RKLB. They actually reported earnings yesterday. The company has just turned, positive gross margins. It's just starting to turn profitable, but the space industry is so new. There are only maybe a couple, 3 dozen worth of publicly traded space stocks. Most of them, like Iridium, have been around for years, and that's not very exciting. I think their cost structure is actually it's going to be in trouble for them because used to take hundreds of millions of dollars just to get your satellite up to space, and your satellite used to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build. And now you've got companies like Black Sky, BKSY is another one, Spire is another one. These companies are basically sending computer servers with solar panels up into space. And the technologies, again, are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And the way to get up there is ever cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Technologies are getting better and better and better. It's a very exciting place to be investing. But by the way, we are 5 years probably too early before, in 5 years, there will be 50 great space companies that we can invest in. Right now, there might be 1 or 2.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I know they mentioned Redwire and Genesis Engineering, I believe, that are going to be working with Blue Origin on this commercial space station. In your opinion, I mean, is this prime time to start investing in these companies?
It is, but you've got to understand that, look, there's been maybe 10 space companies that have de-SPACed or are about to come public through a SPAC, either one. And Redwire that you just mentioned is one of them. I own a little bit of The 3 that I own that are publicly traded. I own SpaceX in my hedge fund, and I've owned it for a long time in the private markets. But and I own several others that are in the private markets that are very exciting that will be coming public soon. But in the public markets, Rocket Lab is my favorite, RKLB. Redwire is probably number 2. Black Sky is a distant number 3. And then I don't really like very many other space stocks that are out there right now. But I am spending all of my time, money, and energy working on space, including creating a space crypto called Skittles. It's actually on seekingalpha.com. If you look me up, I have a free article with links to skittles.com, which is a crypto for space. We're going to try to clean up space debris through our cryptocurrency, through rewarding it and everything. And so look, the space is very exciting. It is the time and place to be investing in it. Everything else I think is frankly boring. I was in smartphones for 15 years before now, right? Like, I mean, Apple's I've owned since 2003. Google's been one of my biggest positions since it came public. That stuff's boring now. You want to look for the next revolution, but you do have to understand probably half of the space companies that are public right now are going to zero at some point in the next 5 years. Half of them are going to go up 5 or 10 or 100-fold. And then there are going to be dozens or hundreds more that we're going to get to invest in 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first, folks. A lot of these companies might go to zero. We'll see. Cody, thank you so much for your insight today. I really appreciate it. You take care. All right.
Hey, thanks for having me.